Good morning, everybody. It's Liz Fleming, the Efficiency Coach, here today for our online workshop, the 7 Steps to Writing Successful Grant Applications. I want to say a big thank you to everybody for joining today. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to learn about grants and how they can support you and your business to grow and expand. So just a bit of housekeeping to begin with. Please have yourself on mute. This webinar will be recorded and sent out to registrants. So if you're watching the replay, big shout out to you and thank you. If you have any questions, if you're on live, please write any questions in the chat, starting with the Q, so I can easily find them. And because I am using the Eventbrite platform for communications, an email will come out after this with the recording, asking for your feedback. So just check your junk and your spam folder for that as well. Who here is a small business owner? Pop up your hands. Yes, we've got a couple. Who is already too busy? Yes, a few more hands go up. And who wears all the hats in their business? Yes, that's most of us. And as small business owners, we're often not ready and don't know what is required when it comes to grant applications. Often grant programs have a short application period, which is sometimes as little as 4 weeks. And we've already mentioned that resources and time are already scarce and limited. We're already doing too many things, wearing too many hats. And so just to add a grant application or to learn more about it just seems like an absolute headache. Hi, I'm Liz, the Efficiency Coach. I'm a grants writer and accountant who's absolutely obsessed with helping your business to grow. You know how there's never enough time to get that grant application written and it always seems to be the last thing on the list and it just seems way too hard? Well, I'm here to demystify the world of grants, to educate you and help you through this journey, to help you write those grants and also to learn about how they can help your business to grow. So let's make a start. Now, I do have a little bit of a confession to make to begin with. I absolutely love writing grant applications. I've got experience in managing grant programs for government agencies here in Australia. And I'm also upfront about how strong your project or idea is for each grant program. So if I don't think that your project is going to meet the criteria or is going to benefit the right people or match the objectives of the grant program, then we either need to work together to develop a project that will have a stronger approach, or this time we won't write it and we'll try and find another grant that is more suitable for you and your business. And because of this, I've got an 85% success rate in writing grant applications. Most grant writers sit around between 20 and 30%. My guarantee to you today is at the end of today's workshop, you'll have 7 clear steps to follow when writing grant applications. Today, I'm sharing with you the outline of the process that I follow with my own clients. Success. What does success mean to you? We all know it means different things to different people, and it's all in the preparation for getting a great result. So like anything else, it's about being prepared to be successful. Gathering all the information, so that's the guidelines, that's any information about the grants program. They might have had a webinar, an information webinar to watch. There might be lists of other projects and organisations that have been successful in previous years. So we need to find all that information. We need to read through the criteria. We need to read through the eligibility criteria. And we also need to read through what's going to be included and needed in the application form as well. So we can find those draft blank forms and gather that all at the beginning. And then this is where we're going to draft our outline. So what's our project? How does it match the objectives? Do we have access to all the information that we're going to need? And also checking how long it takes how long that grants program is open for. So it is really about getting organised at the beginning. Now, the next step is taking all that information and really breaking it down and turning it into a work plan. So treating your grant application just like any other business project, any other job application, or any other project. So I always use a numbered checklist of all the components required. And I also actually copy and paste the application form components into a Word document. So this allows you to write it when you do come to writing it, it's all there, and we can then just copy and paste it at the end. We also need to bring together our team who's going to be working on it. So that might be our internal team as well as external team, depending on what the grant application is for. Are we working with other partners? Is it just us? And having that all important kickoff meeting to make sure people know what they're doing, who's doing what, and setting up those deadlines and working towards the submission date as well. Now, my last point here, it doesn't have to be me, but please make sure that you find someone who has had experience in writing grants before. So they understand the process and they know what they're doing. So engaging with a grant writer is really, really important. And of course, it could be me because that's what I love doing. So step 3, we're taking that work plan to create and design our own project plan. We're turning this application into our own project. Now, this is absolutely what I do. It's quite detailed and it really needs to be. This is what we need to do for success. And this also keeps everyone on track throughout the entire process. So what's the project? How's it going to happen? Allocating those tasks and actions. What are the deadlines? Aiming to submit the grant application at least 1 or 2 days before the actual deadline that's been given, which can sometimes be tight as it is. So to factor in a day or 2 buffer at the end is really important because we know some things don't always go to plan. And then this is also at the point where we work out what costs are involved. So what project elements have a cost involved and what's our budget going to be. This is also really important because obviously grants are money and funding and they'll have limits. So sometimes they'll have a limit on the amount of funding you can apply for. There'll be limits on your contribution, and sometimes you might also have to pay half of the project cost. So if it's a $100,000 project, the maximum might be $50,000 and you need to come up with the other $50,000 to complete the project as part of the grant application. So that's what's really important here, to work out what those costs are and how it's going to be funded and what we're going to apply for. Now, step 4, this is where we collate all the supporting documents. So we've already been through the application form, we've already been through the objectives, the criteria, and we're now really looking at what's required for these grant applications. Now, remember, when the panelists are reviewing the applications, they know nothing about you or your organisation or your projects. So we really need to make sure that we can give them as much detail and information as we possibly can. Just noting whether they want the information. Some of them ask specifically for other documents. Some of them will say, please don't send anything else apart from what we have asked. And others will say you can send them an additional 5 supporting documents. It's up to you to support your grant application. So it is really important to read through all of that and know what you can and can't do and what they expect. If they ask for no other documents, then don't put any in. 1, you're wasting your time. 2, they just won't look at them. And 3, they've specifically asked to not send them in. So you just need to follow instructions there. So at this point, this is where we think about how we can write our letters of support. And these are from organisations or partners or beneficiaries of our program that are going to benefit if this project goes ahead. And they're basically writing a letter of support to the organisation, the funding program organisation, to say, please support this project because we would love it. We actually draft those letters of support because we put in information about our project, we put in information about us and that partner. So basically, we're just asking them to sign a letter for us that we can send off as part of our application. Getting quotes, mentioned that before, we need to be really early on this because we all know that grants when the application process is short, as I said before, normally 4 weeks, but sometimes you're waiting up to 3 to 6 months for the outcome to be known. So some suppliers are reluctant to do quotes for grants, and this is where it comes down to your relationship with those suppliers and those other businesses to understand the process that you're going through, because most grant applications do require the quotes to be attached. Financial reports. So I'm a chartered accountant, so I can sign off on financial reports. I can also work through the cash flow projections that may need to be added as well. And this is where, you know, the gold is in how I can help you. And this is also at the point where we're just getting shit done. We need to make sure we've got everything with us at this point, all our letters of support, all our quotes, all our information, so that we can be good to go. Now, a lot of people who have already done this webinar are surprised that we get to step 5 and we only start writing at step 5. So this is where it is really important that we're prepared, that we're ready, that we've gone through all the components of it, that we haven't missed anything out. We're ready to, you know, start writing. And then again, we're going back to the key criteria to address. And checking those assessment weightings. So we don't necessarily know how they're going to judge it, but they will give some indication of some of the questions and the weightings that are against it. So if it's a higher weighting, you really want to make sure that you, you know, have that as a good response. And this is also, as I said at the start, putting it into a Word document is really important because most grant applications have a word or character limit. So when I'm copying and pasting the application form into a blank Word document, I'll put in brackets the word or character limit so that as soon as I'm writing it, we know, or even when I'm brainstorming, I know, okay, is it 100 words? Is it 500 words? Sometimes if it's 500 words, I might just keep writing and writing and writing and then refine it as we go to get back down to the word limit. Obviously, this is the most important step because this is what the panel are going to see. And making sure we're addressing all the questions, answering what they've asked, and showing our project in its best light. Now, the next step is once we've written our, you know, final draft, we need to then add in our why and our story. So this is where we need to write in a persuasive way, because as I keep saying, the panelists have no idea about you or your project, and they've got a competitive process where there are so many other projects that are being submitted. So we need to make sure they know that ours is the best project and that we're going to approve it. So knowing why it's the best. And this is really about linking again back to the criteria, the objectives, who's it going to benefit? Is it the right target audience? And making sure that you've included that into your application. If your grant application allows you to add some supporting documents just as attachments, I always say put some photos, put some drawings and designs depending on your project, just so that it's easier for them to visualize exactly what you wanting to do, and also shows that you've put a lot of thought into this project so that it's, you know, ready to go if they do approve the grant. Now that brings us to step 7, which is the final step. So, you know, we've gone through, we've worked through all the criteria, we've now written it, we've written it in a persuasive way. And I always have someone else review and read the application. So if I'm working with a client, I would have written it, I've sent it to them to say, hey, what do you think? They'll be checking it for factual information that they're happy, because obviously it's their business and their application. And then also checking for grammar, doesn't make sense. Again, checking the word limits and all that kind of stuff. When you are copying it into the grants portal and there is a word limit on it, it'll just cut the words off. So if you're trying to copy across 115 words and the limit's 100, the technology today in those portals are pretty clever, and it'll chop it off at 100 words. So, you know, you do need to, that's just to keep everything fair, and you just need to make sure you are meeting that criteria in itself. And then pressing submit. And again, we hopefully have planned to do this 1 to 2 days before the deadline. We don't want to be rushed. We don't want to rely on trying to submit it 5 minutes before it's due. If something closes at 11:59 that night, that portal will automatically close at that time. And there's no way, you know, no one else is going to be on their computer to help you at midnight. And so they don't really care. So that's why it's really important to make sure that we are aiming to submit it a couple of days before the deadline, if possible. On the day, it's absolutely fine, but when we've planned it and got it all together, it's just less stressful. I still get a bit nervous pressing the submit button, so sometimes I will get the client to review it, then I will do one final copy and paste, make sure everything's attached, go through it all, recheck the criteria, and then some of them get me to press the submit and some of them are happy to do it themselves. So we just work together. And then here for the last step, I always say celebrate. It's always been a massive piece of work to create your grant application. As I said at the start, we're all busy wearing a number of hats and we're trying to do it in snippets of time. But it's also a process that's really important because there'll be questions in those application forms that you may have never had to answer. Sometimes it can even just be about the history of your business, your achievements and what you've done, things like that. And writing them down can really allow people to celebrate themselves in terms of what they have achieved, and then propel them to go forward as well. So, think of applying for a grant application as just like applying for a job. There's a lot of work goes into it. And it's also a bit like an exam. Once you've done your study, you've sat the exam, you walk out of there, there's nothing you can do. You just have to wait, which can be frustrating as well. But if you've got a team that's helped you on that grant application, I reckon it's definitely a good opportunity to celebrate and then wait. So there we go. We have the 7 steps to writing successful grant applications. Now, I just want you to take a moment to think back to the 7 steps I've just taken you through today. And if you wouldn't mind in the chat, popping in, what was your biggest takeaway from today? What was the one thing that really stood out that you didn't know, that was surprising, that you're going to do in the future? And if you have any questions as well, remember to put them in the chat with the capital Q and I will answer them as well. So just to recap, it's all about being prepared, reading through that criteria, planning out what your project is, creating and designing that project plan with your team, collating all the information and supporting documents, writing the application, then adding your why you're doing it and why they should approve your project, and then reviewing and the all-important submitting that application to be in the running. Cool, yes, so some people are saying that number 5, writing, some people do just start writing from the beginning as soon as they see it. The importance of writing, copying and pasting the instructions into a Word document, yes, definitely, because then you can keep coming back to it. I sometimes also print that off and pop it in my bag, and I might have a random 5-10 minutes and I'll just chip away at it to do the brainstorming. So definitely copying and pasting the instructions into the Word document, and then you can copy and paste it into the application form later on. I always encourage people to log on and create your application form in the portal. Obviously you can put your email address in, create a password, and then save it and come back to it, and then you can fill out all that basic information about your business, your numbers and all that sort of stuff, so that when you're finished and it all gets a bit stressful at the end, you're only copying and pasting across your answers for the questions. So some grant applications require you to have a business plan, some require you have a project plan, some require you have a risk management plan, and sometimes we don't have these documents. So that's why it is really important to be ready to apply for a grant if that's what you want to do. And that's the whole premise of why I run these workshops. So cool, thank you for sharing that with me. Now, I'm just going to run through some common questions that I get. So obviously I am based in Australia. I know I've got some people online from America sometimes. So generally there's grants at a federal level, a state level, and then a local council level, and also a private level from other organisations as well. But for Australia, my main ones that I look for to find grants is the Grants Hub, which is the directory for grants, Business Victoria for grants for businesses based in the state of Victoria, Business Australia again, that covers the entire country. Grant Guru is another directory, as is Grants Ready. A couple of them you do have to pay for, some are free, so you can go in and set up alerts and things like that and get them into your inbox each day and work through that. Another question that comes up quite regularly is, are there grants to help me start a business? And the short answer to this, unfortunately, is no. So, remember, the grant programs are normally government, it's taxpayers' money. They want to make sure that they're getting value for that money, and that it's helping the economy. They don't just give out grants for the sake of it. It's to improve something, improve benefits to either that business or that community, or an industry. So they want to make sure that you are dedicated to that business as well. So normally grants are for established businesses between 1 and 2 years from starting. That's not always the case, but generally I always say to people, if you want to start a business but you're relying on a grant, it's not the right way to go about it. And here in Australia, my thought process around that is, having at least $5,000 cash to start that business. And if you are in employment, start it as a side hustle. So, start working on the weekends and at night, and then go from there. And the other question is, how are grants assessed? Now, we don't really know the answer to this because it varies hugely from grant program to grant program, but that's where we need to make sure that we're answering the questions properly. We're looking at the weighted assessment. We're looking at what they are asking and answering exactly what they are asking. And then that's all we can really do with that one. I did watch another grant webinar a couple of weeks ago where the lady was on the panel. And I've been on panels before, but they do depend on what grant program it is. And she said she gives each application 7 minutes. So again, just like a job application, you haven't got much time to plead your case and get across the line and to be in the yes pile. So that's why we need to make sure we can write it as greatly as we can. Great. So if you have any other questions or want to share your biggest takeaway, pop them in the chat because I'd love to hear from you. Now, I'm just going to share with you some clients of mine that I've helped them with successful grant applications. And there's been some great applications and grant programs out in the last few years, and they've been really cool to work with. I really treat a grant application process like writing a business plan. You as the business owner know the most about your business, and I'm extracting that information from you to write it in such a way that's going to be favourable, hopefully, for the grant program. So Anna and Yulia, a husband and wife team of creatives, love working with them. They had great ideas, great ambitions. They have a wedding venue. And when we went through these grant applications, it really was about keeping them on track. So there was a lot to it. They had to get quotes, they had to get letters of support, and just keeping them on track. And I can luckily say that we did submit them on time, which was great. Chris was approved for a $25,000 grant for his business. He's got a farm shop selling farm produce, meat from his farm gate, and his cool room allowed him to become much more efficient and look much more professional. So that's really propelled his business. And $25,000, that is a great grant to have, especially when it was something like a capital investment like that he was going to do the project anyway. So the grant was a great helping hand. And Ben and Jessie, they had $27,000 worth of grants. So they had a business plan grant and also an equipment grant, which allowed them to take their business from a side hustle into a full-time business. So it's really fast-tracked where they wanted to be to reach their goals, which is great. Now I have just established this brand new product that I would love to share with you today. It is for businesses in Australia only, but it is the Grants Club VIP membership. This is where me and my team, if you sign up, me and my team will gather the information about your business and we will search for grants for you. So you don't need to be part of any directory or anything like that. We will do it for you. We'll have a strategy call at the start of this membership. We'll learn more about your business and then we will be actively looking for grants for you. And my guarantee with this program, this membership, is that we will find you a grant that you're eligible for to the value of your annual membership. So that's my guarantee to you and your business. I'm super excited about this. It's brand new. It's a way to bring people into the grants community that just have no idea where to start, don't have any time, and we as the experts can help you out. There will also be quarterly masterclasses throughout the 12 months. There's a private Facebook group that's part of it as well, where I will be sharing other insights and grants. But once we match you with a grant that you're eligible for, you'll get an email in your inbox saying, hey, here's a grant we've found. Do you want to book in a 15-minute call with me or my team to chat through the options, look, have a quick chat about whether you've got any projects, what information needs to be gathered for that grant, and then whether you want us to write it for you, whether you want to have a go at writing yourself and we can act as the reviewers. But there's a couple of options there as well. So I will pop the link into the chat at the moment, and you can have a look at that. Remember also, an email will be going out to all registrants with the links and link to my YouTube video with the recording of this, which has also got all the links to the things I'm talking about today, including my Grants Club VIP membership. So I'm super excited, love to have you as part of that. And if you have any questions, please also let me know. And I've also got my my private Facebook group called the Efficient Business Community that I would all love you to join. I will be sharing my upcoming workshops and events. You can connect with like-minded businesses to help all of us. I'll be sharing tips and grants and other business-related content in here, and to join that group, the link will be in the email that comes out as well, or you can put your phone up to the QR code on the screen there and join that way as well. Now that brings us to the end of the workshop today. I hope you all learned something. I hope you all found something valuable out of that. And I'm just going to leave you with this quote that I quite like, and I think it's very fitting when it comes to writing grant applications. Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. So we're all about being prepared, being ready. So when that grant program comes out, we're ready to go. So thank you, and have a great day, and I will see you soon.